Continuing on what Joel said about women not being able to vote, I ran across this clip of Isabella Riley Moody talking about how she doesn't think women should vote either. And we'll go ahead and share it with you guys here.
Worst things ever happened for America was women getting the right to vote in 1920. The 19th Amendment is a horrible thing because women overwhelmingly vote for Democrats because they are emotional thinkers, and the left knows how to tug on the emotional heartstrings of women, which is how they get their votes. And I'm sorry, men just know better. And yes, there are stupid liberal men that are pretty much women, but America would be way more conservative if it weren't for women getting the right to vote, which Republicans did, by the way. So freaking rhinos.
True. And ideally, you would marry someone who was on the same page as you politically and did have the same values. So it's like your vote essentially would be counting for two people. So it's not honestly like the worst thing in the world.
So, yeah, this is. I just have to wonder what's going on here because. Like I can see the men saying this. But then the women's like, well, even she said in that clip that like, listen, well, men are just smarter. Men know what they're doing, so we shouldn't do this either. And I have a hard time imagining saying something like that when you're a member of that antagonized group, because I couldn't picture a scenario where I said, well, listen, having black people vote is hurting the nation, so we should just take it away because, white people know what they're doing. We have no fucking clue what's going on. And she doesn't. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I want to be really clear, and I have a very clear, good answer for this question. I'm glad you asked it. What we're looking at right there is two very, very insecure, small, and scared women who do not believe that they themselves could function, take care of themselves, be comfortable, have their hair straightened and their makeup done, and have a cool podcast studio, if not for men in their lives, like propelling these dreams and like funding them, whatever else. Furthermore, there are men standing behind these women somewhere who know that online and on the internet, I'm not going to say beautiful, but I'll say mediocre, not completely unfortunate looking females talking about politics, going to get more views and more attention than if their husbands got on there and started talking out of their ass. So these are small, weak women encouraging other women. And I'm not even trying to get political. Like, they talk about all kinds of fucking shit on there. So I'm talking about everything that they talk about. These are two small, weak, cowardice women who weren't okay with that being their lives. Like they're so small that they think that it's okay for them to influence other women to get into the same like colorless, bland, terrible little life that they are living in. And let me just back up here and say for a second that they're not full of shit. Let's fucking pretend, because that's what we're doing. Isabella, your husband ain't shit. He looks like a boy child. Let's pretend that these two guys were as good of husbands as Isabella's out there pretending that he is, or preaching like he is. She is at least intelligent enough to get in front of a camera and to form sentences. So I'm sorry, you're intelligent enough to look around, ma'am, and understand that even if your husband is great, he's the exception, not the goddamn rule here. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about MAGA and JP. You don't even have to talk about, if we don't want to talk about Christians per se, like you can anywhere, any other one. But so to get on a podcast or to get on social media and to say the things that she says, and it is just to get people to listen and more women or whatever else. It is about, I'm shaking talking about it. It is about the most grimy thing that I think a woman could do on the internet. I'd rather see your boobs, Isabella. Come on, fans. If you need attention that bad, do it elsewhere, because I can't stand that that because I know I can look in her eyes even on this podcast and I can tell like you girl, you're going home and all walking on pins and needles and you're not laying your head down at night feeling like, wow, I gave so much love and received so much love today and I had all these experiences. Like you're only thinking about like what's going to make your husband happy and his dreams are obviously like politically fueled. And if I wasn't so angry, I'd feel really bad for her. So that's all I had to say about that.
Do you think that so do you think she's there to try to get female listeners? Because
no, I mean I
don't think so either. Yeah.
But I do think that there is surely husbands, fathers, men out there listen or getting it from whoever else or hearing it and going, God, yeah, this is what my teenage daughter needs to hear.
Yes.
I mean, I was that teenage daughter getting stuff like that. And I know it has to be happening. So whether she's wanting to influence young women or, wives or anything like that is not,
Yeah. Like I don't think her goal here is to attract more, a female demographic to her content. Her goal here, and you see this a lot in conservative media, is that you have views that are espoused by mainly old men. Like that's the demographic that believes in this stuff. And there's no better way to get old men to pay attention to your content than having a young hot chick saying exactly what they think, and they will flock to it. And then, like you said, they also, not only do they do that, it's like, oh God, this girl who I would love to bone one day, but agrees with everything I say. That's fantastic. But like what you said, Kayla, is my daughter needs to hear this. Like my daughter is like a weird progressive, and she's rejecting all this. I wish my daughter were like this. Like this would change her entire life. And so that's what I think she's going with this, because, and we'll get to that a little bit later about how genuine she is, because I have a lot of stuff on that as well.
Yeah,
and this one I'm gonna talk about is what I got here. About the woman's role, not in politics, but the woman's role, domestically. Let's see. This is with her and her husband. I think his name is Josiah.
Mm-hmm. Women, unironically, they need to find a man that's very misogynistic. If you at all want to have a guy that's going to like make you follow his frame, and you need to find a strong Christian man that's going to put you in your place, or else you're going to dominate the relationship. And when a woman dominates the relationship, it's destined for failure, because I see even how I was different. Like in my previous relationship, I was dominating and I was such a bitch, like such a Jezebel. And, I wasn't always like a good wife or like this great, or even Christian. I used to be atheist, but he has completely transformed who I am and how I act, because he's such a strong Christian man, and he doesn't let me get by on things. He always will nitpick everything, because he's literally training me how to be a good Christian wife. You need to be trained. Women are bitches and they need to be trained. So that's my advice. Find a man that will train you. Like to young women.
So Kayla, I remember when I showed you this video a couple weeks ago, and you brought up something that I hadn't really thought of. You said that in a way you felt pretty bad for Isabella, because in your assertion, you saw someone who was just desperate to be loved by someone. And she was so in need of being accepted and loved that she would be willing to degrade herself like that, and just to feel that some sort of connection. And it was the first time I felt bad for her. I had never done it before, but I thought you made a pretty salient point there.
Yeah, I mean, I do think watching that video, I still maintain the anger, like I said, because I hear her basically like from a female, which I think can be really even more dangerous for young women. I remember hearing men say some of the same things that she just said as a teenager, and I knew, and I was just like, well, fuck you, you're saying that because you're a dude.
Right.
But I remember like some women that I thought were, you know, beautiful, smart, intelligent, kind, like everything that I wanted to be, telling me essentially the same things. And that laid the foundation for me to be and I'm going to get really personal here, and I'm almost going to do this, but I have been in an extremely abusive relationship. I won't even say like which one or when it, where it was. But when I remember coming out of my very physically, mentally, emotionally, and very long abusive relationship, and a lot of domestic abuse survivors have this moment, but asking myself, how did I let that happen to me? Because I've always been a type A personality, a strong-willed young woman, even at the Haven, or in all of these experiences, like nothing ever broke that about me. And then I felt like I could not understand for such a long time after my abusive relationship, how me still being me after it, how did I do that? And this is a huge part of it. I had so many people that are adults that I looked up to or loved and trusted, and it was the women that were the most, like I said, influential in this area, but lay the foundation that abuse is okay. I don't think that her fucking boy child, Joe Child, whatever he is, I don't know, Josiah, is that what his name is? I don't think that he just nitpicks her. That is and probably any, you know, domestic abuse survivors or advocates that will listen to this, like everything she said was a red flag. If I was sitting across a table at lunch from that girl and just met her, and she said some of these things, not even some of the political stuff, but like in particular, I keep thinking about her saying he nitpicks me. That's your nice, pretty word for whatever the fuck he's really doing, which is probably abusing you. And you know, that's your word for it. And I kept watching her watch him during that, almost like checking, like, this is right. Okay. She would look and then proceed. Like he was giving her that nod, like you're on the right track. And another, like, and I don't feel bad. I'm sorry. Like, I'm about to sound so much more judgmental than I think I am by nature or choose to be in normal conversations. But I don't feel bad about it here, because this girl is a full adult who had obviously like had plenty of other time in her life to explore other theologies or belief systems. She was previously an atheist. So I have no shame like going for this girl here, but she's a beautiful girl. I just don't even, the need for love and the point that we talked about there in the beginning, it has to be so deep, because not only is she getting up here and putting her foot in her mouth on the internet, but just looking at the two of them. I'm just saying, like, girl, you don't have to do all that. You don't have to do that. You can be smart and not get nitpicked, and you can take care of yourself, not with your life choices now. Like, you're going to have to hit the ground, hit rock bottom, and like unlearn everything. But yes, like she's very, I do feel bad for her too. And that's how it will not get better for her. Somebody said something to me when I was getting divorced and talking about like the beginning of my relationship. And they said, you know, a relationship's never going to be better than it is in the beginning. So take and the beginning can be in so many different contexts. It's however you look at it. Maybe it's the first month if you're looking back, or maybe y'all have been together for 10 years and it's that first year. But she's young. He's obviously like, I would like to see his driver's license and his marriage certificate just to make sure that this is all across the board. But they're very young, and this is the best that their marriage is ever going to be. So I'm going to watch Isabella for years to come, whether she stays in the main light or not, because I don't think this is going to work out for her long term the way she's feeling like it is. But there's
if two crazy kids like that can't make it, I mean, what hope is there for
people like that absolutely hate that their lives stick it out till death? So maybe I'm wrong. She seems very hard-headed, so that's